A genocide is the intentional action to destroy a people in whole or in part. This genocide took place in Rwanda in Africa, and it was against the Tutsis and the Hutus, who both looked the same, had the same religion, and spoke the same language. Leading up to April 1994, the Hutus and the Tutsis were always in conflict.
April 6, 1994. President Juvenal Habyarimana dies when his plane was shot down. A French judge blamed Paul Kagame, who at the time was the leader of a Tutsi rebel group, and some of his fellow leaders for the attack. This caused the Hutus to attack the Tutsis for the killing of the president after they were blamed for the act.
April 7, 1994, Hutu extremists started killing their political enemies and even the prime minister. The United Nations removed peacekeepers from the area, letting the Rwandians take control of their situation. As a result, almost all other international forces pulled away from Rwanda. This violence created a political vacuum.
April 9, 1994. There was a massacre at Gikondo where hundreds of Tutsis, including children, were killed in the Palatine Missionary Catholic Church. Tutsis seemed to be the only target, and this is the beginning of the genocide.
April 18, 1994. This was one of the bloodiest days of the genocide, when 12,000 Tutsis are killed after sheltering in Gatwardo Stadium. 50,000 more were killed in the hills of Bisero and in local hospitals and churches.
May 23, 1994, the RPF, or the Rwandan Patriotic Front, took control of the presidential palace.
Mid-July 1994, the genocide ends when the RPF gains control of the country, and the genocide ends 100 days after it started.
After the RPF took control of the government, about 2 million Hutus fled to neighboring countries as refugees in fear of being punished for the genocide. The refugee camps were mostly controlled by the former Hutu army, but many of the refugees died in the camps from disease.
Kiligi International Airport is where the president was killed. This is also the capital of Rwanda. In Gikondo, hundreds of Tutsis were killed in the Palatine Missionary Catholic Church. The province of Kibungo, there was a massacre at the Nairobi Roman Catholic Church, and thousands of Tutsis were killed. Gatwardo, 12,000 Tutsis are killed at Gatwardo Stadium. In the hills of Bisero, 50,000 more were killed. In Tanzania, 250,000 Tutsis fled here after the killings. In Gikongoraro, 500 French troops have been deployed here to save 400,000 civilians. In the Democratic Republic of Congo, Hutu people fled here as refugees.
The 8 stages of genocide. Stage 1, classification, refers to a division of the population into racial, religious, and ethnic divisions. Classification was between the Hutus and the Tutsis, 2 racial groups of Rwanda. Stage 2, symbolization, labeling the classified group. Stage 3, dehumanization, when a particular group is labeled as subhuman. Dehumanization happened when the Hutus started calling the Tutsis cockroaches and started to say terrible things about them, making more people turn on them. Stage 4, organization. This stage is the planning and organization of people. Stage 5, polarization, when groups are driven further apart by extremists. Stage 6, preparation, further planning and death lists, or the organization of people into concentration camps. Stage 7, extermination. This is when the genocide actually takes place. Extermination happened when over 1 million Hutus and Tutsis were killed in only 100 days. Stage 8, denial, when people try to cover up their crimes and act as if the genocide was overstated. A picture is worth 1,000 words. The most disturbing thing about this picture from the Rwandan genocide is the fact that the Tutsis and the Hutus looked almost exactly the same, and they had the same religion and spoke the same language. Since they were so similar, it was hard to tell the difference between the two. This is unnerving because since it was so hard to tell the difference between them, they could have just destroyed everyone, thinking they were the enemy. People were killing their neighbors because the 2 groups were so close. They lived next to each other and lived almost the same lives, but the hatred between them was deadly. The boys in this picture are begging for their lives to be saved, and the people who are causing this could have been their friends the day before. These boys' parents may have been killed, and they could have watched, and are now left with the haunting memories of the murdering of their family. They may only be alive because they had a chance to escape, but their parents didn't. These kids are being tortured without mercy by people who are almost the same as them. This is a true story of a survivor of the Rwandan Genocide. My name is Alphazine Nyukayetsi. I was born in 1983 and was in primary 4 when the genocide began. I had 3 siblings, 1 sister and 2 brothers. My name, Nyukayetsi, translates to one who deserves spoiling. I grew up believing I was a princess until the genocide shattered my dreams. My childhood was normal and happy before the genocide. My father's job provided for the family. My mother had enough food for the family and sold some for money. We lived close to my father's relatives. We lived in harmony with our neighbors. The only exception was at school, where my teacher used to separate Tutsis and send them out of the class while the rest of the students went on with their work. I didn't really understand the implications of being a Tutsi. My parents never discussed it with me, so when the teacher filled the registration form and put me down as a Tutsi, I didn't mind. During the genocide, I learned what it meant to be a Tutsi. I saw too much during that time. I saw my father killed. I saw my mother raped. I saw my mother killed too. Thankfully, my siblings survived. Though I was raped too countless times, I was beaten and slashed with machetes when I was found in hiding. Though I survived, sometimes I think myself less fortunate for having done so. After the genocide, when I managed to return to Rwanda, I began getting severe headaches. I am disabled. Sometimes I can't think straight. I get dizzy and I continue to get headaches and blackouts all the time. On many occasions, I have been admitted in the hospital and have had no one come to check on me. Most of the people who killed my family crossed to Congo, but the man who killed my father, known as Concord, is still living in the community. He confessed in court to killing my father. He still has a life and a family. What justice is there for my family? They continue to live with the legacy of the genocide. I am supported by soulless ministries who try to help me cope with my daily ordeal. Recently, when I was feeling unwell, I was tested and found that I was HIV positive. The only way this could have happened is through rape. I was a child, only 11 years old when the killers struck. I am now 25 years old. I am still suffering because of the cuts on my face and neck, and I am HIV positive. What hope or future do I have? Overall, 1,070,014 people were killed in only 100 days. 200,000 people participated in the murderings. For 100 days, 6 men, women, or children were killed each minute of each hour of each day. 250,000 women were raped in 3 months, and now thousands of those women are tested positive for HIV. 75% of the Tutsi population was killed. So we must ask ourselves, how can this be stopped, and how can genocide continue to happen in our world after what happened in Rwanda?